I know. I never heard back from your tech person, so just doing the best I can. I sent you that email, Sammy, but I guess you didn't have a chance to get to me. We'll try and get through it. I think it'll be all right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you got a little louder.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, shout.
All right, Kurt.
Okay, let's start this meeting. We'll call it to order. Thank you all for coming. I think we've got everybody except Kathy and Peggy might be able to come back. Steve, you must have flipped your video off. Is that right? And you're muted again too. Come on, Steve, you're our technology guru on the board. Don't be doing this to me.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. There you go. You're good.
Yeah.
All right. Public comments, and Sammy already gave you the reminder, although I wrote myself a note too. And Steve, since you just came on, this is being live streamed on the library's YouTube channel. So members of the public may be listening to our meeting. So
Yay.
Although I know you guys are always appropriate, you want to make sure you really are appropriate. So having said that, Sammy, do we have any public comments at all?
No official public comments. We've just, much like last time, we've been receiving just some really nice notes through the book drop with returns and stuff. It's funny how many people mention buying ourselves drinks or putting in the slush fund. So anyway, it's just kind of, it's nice to get those notes.
Yeah. Tell them it's just like a deposit slot. They can drop money in there too.
Yeah.
Minutes in circulation. Have you all had a chance to look at the minutes from last time?
I did, and well, Bob is in there twice, and I'm not in there at all.
I thought you changed your name.
I guess. So am I Robert or Bob?
Take your pick.
But anyway, we can cross out one of those guys. I think Bob goes by Bob rather than Robert a lot.
And I don't think
but I noticed on the screen.
I don't think we spelled Bob's name right, last name right either, did we? Or did we?
No, didn't. You spelled the Robert right, but you spelled the Bob last name wrong.
Yeah.
So I think I circled Bob and took my name and pointed an arrow at it. So I'm going to say maybe I'm supposed to be Bob or something.
Okay. I don't think anything else Bob's name. Anything else last name right? Is it all that any of you had a concern about or need to make a comment? And if I don't hear any, I would be happy to accept a motion for the minutes as written.
Moved.
Second.
Good. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Good. Along with that is the circulation reports. And again, I kind of always get a little bit confused, but we could look at page 4, at page 2 and page 5. You know, 2 is the consolidated one and 5 is the one with all the stuff on it. So why don't you take a look at that, and do any of you have anything that you want to ask or add to that?
Yeah, this is Rob. I noticed, are the discards, is that a normal amount that you discard every month, or is that just because you have the time?
We finished a large weeding project much earlier than expected, which was kind of nice. And it aligned nicely with the inventory and now the current RFID tagging, because we didn't have to inventory or tag anything that we would have ended up getting rid of. So yes, that is an abnormally large number. So actually from now on, unless something horrible happens, we shouldn't have that many discards for quite some time now.
I had a question along those same lines as Rob's, which is, what have we done with all of them? Because I know sometimes we give them to the friends, but they aren't having sales and they don't have room.
Well, I believe it's going to be next week, as long as the weather cooperates. We're going to have a drive-by book sale, and we have packaged up in all the grocery bags you get from grocery pickup, currently. We have a ton of those, and we've bagged up all the books by genre. And we're just going to have people drive by and say, I want a bag of fiction or a bag of mysteries or whatever. And you just get a bag and you throw your money in a donation bucket and drive off.
Cool.
So we're going to have a no contact drive-by book sale.
Good.
Wow. Okay.
My related question to this topic is, Sammy, what is our goal for our revised inventory? Where do we want to end up in terms of total volumes?
Well, we don't have a set number we want to be at. More importantly, we would just want to make sure we don't have any gaps in the collection, especially in nonfiction. We also want to make sure that there's nothing that's too old, especially in nonfiction, for instance, legal or medical. But we don't really have a prescribed number that we're aiming for. But we just want a healthy, current, used collection.
But I guess I'm getting to the place where we've now discarded way more books than we've replaced.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, and I know there's an ongoing process where you're going to be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you must have some kind of target in mind for when you feel that you've gotten back up to where you want to be.
Well, I think Christina and Michaela have been busy reordering either replacement copies for things that were damaged and couldn't be kept, or ordering updated things to fill in those gaps. And I think they're pretty close to being done with the reordering, and it'll probably take a few weeks to just get all that flowing into the system.
Okay.
But there were certain areas of the collection that had I would say, a glut of information that maybe didn't need to be there. And unfortunately, a lot of out-of-date stuff, which now I feel better we've gotten it out of the system. And now I feel like our nonfiction is really a lot more up to snuff. So.
Yeah, that I would imagine that tends to happen with nonfiction. It ages.
Yeah.
So Shakespeare's play is always Shakespeare's play, but.
Yeah, but in some instances we had 4 and 5 of the same Shakespeare play, and not even the common ones, one of the obscure ones. So that's the kind of stuff we decided, you know what, we don't need 4 of that, for instance.
Okay. Other questions on the circulation reports at all? Sammy, I noticed we had total programs and program attendance on page 2, 11 and 116 attendance. I'm assuming those were all video?
Yes, we have had no live programming. Those have been things like the story times, and Paul's done his Spanglish online. We had a couple of the new programs start up, so it's all been online.
Okay.
So what was a typical one-on-one appointment out of the 7 that you did?
Paul has been handling those, and it's been everything from computer troubleshooting to some people have had questions on how to work through Zoom meetings and things like that. So he's had quite a variety of,
nice.
Some have just been research, regular research appointments just taken online.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, hearing no other questions. Next on the agenda is Treasurer's Report, but the librarian's report is kind of in front of that in the actual package. So why don't there wasn't any correspondence, right, Sammy?
No.
So why don't we go to the librarian's report, and then we'll go back to Treasurer's Report, and we'll keep the package that got sent out in the same order.
Okay, well, as you can see, I just kind of listed out the programs and activities we have been doing. Obviously, there's been an increase in our online material usage. And like I said, we've been busy weeding and inventorying. It's just been, it's so nice to be able to do that kind of cleanup too. We're finding, things labeled wrong, and we're fixing that. It's just been a really good exercise overall, not just to find out what we actually have, but to make sure it's accurate too, which is always good. We've launched our summer reading, so I hope everybody joins. We're doing it online this year. We're going to have some online programs, but also some individual activities people can do on their own to fulfill some of the goals. And otherwise, we've just been busy weeding and replacing and tagging and all sorts of things. And then I included those books and programs by mail just so that people could kind of see how that's been working out.
You want to tell us a little more about Beanstack?
Yeah, it's an online tracking program for summer reading. And instead of the paper forms we've always used to track the hours or books and that kind of thing, you can do it online now. And it works the same way. As soon as you reach certain goals, you can put tickets in. It's just basically just moving it online instead of having to have paper forms.
And that's launching soon?
That's already available. If you go to our website, the link is there, and that can get you to the app and get you going.
Yeah, I looked at their home site, Sammy, and they do a lot of things. They let people write book reviews about books that they've read. They give like 100 books you should read before you go to college, all sorts of stuff. It looked really interesting.
It's a
and
great.
I know it's a lot of libraries are using it.
Because we're going to use it. We're trying it out for summer reading, but we have the possibility of running winter reading programs and special reading programs and a lot of different. It has a lot of flexibility, and it's nice because we can somewhat customize it to our needs. And so far, we've been very pleased with it.
Is it very expensive?
No, Crystal, if you can help me remember, it's $800. I want to say.
I don't think it was that much.
It wasn't even that much. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's been, it's well under $1,000, and it's nice because we can use it year round.
Can kids use this if they're not living in the county? I'm thinking I have granddaughters that are going to be coming over for I don't know how long.
Sure.
They don't have library cards. I do, but
I remember. I don't think it required you to put in a library card. Christina, do you remember?
I don't think so. No, I don't think it does.
No,
Okay.
and it's nice as a parent or a grandparent can sign up, and then they can put their, kids or grandkids under them type thing, and log in at once and fill in everybody's stuff. Or you can. It's really flexible and really nice and really easy to use. So
It was actually 1,100.
oh, okay, it was 1,100.
It would be a good thing if we can, to get some public information out about when we talk about the summer reading program and Beanstack. So, other questions for Sammy?
I had a quick question. So I was just going through what's offered as far as databases, and the last time I checked, the world was only accessible through coming into the library. Is that still true?
Yes. Okay. Unfortunately, that's the way it has to work, and the agreement we made with that company in order to get those digitized, it was an in-house use only agreement. So.
Okay.
They didn't anticipate what was going to happen.
Well, yeah, that too.
So, Sammy, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I noticed on the librarian report miscellaneous that the Hoopla had 21 new borrowers and almost 400 circulations. So how's that going money-wise? Is that still supportable, sustainable at the current rate?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're doing all right in that budget.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? I've got two for you, Sammy, if nobody else does.
Okay.
So I'll give you the shorter one first, and then you can. Well, no, I actually have three of them, I guess. The RFID tagging that we're doing, which is great, and this is a wonderful time to be thinking about doing it as well. You said in your report that the gates and some other equipment will arrive in July to complete the setup. Are we going to be able to have self-checkout with that?
Yes, we'll have the current order has, I think, 2 or 3 self-checkouts that are coming with it, and we'll place those in various spots around the building. We're also working on, there's an app that goes with it where people will be able to walk around the library and check out their libraries books on their app. And then when you get to the door, there's called this fast track where you just set them down to desensitize them, and then you just walk out the door. So,
cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's great.
So we're going to have a big launch once we get everything set up and figured out. We'll have a big public education moment about all of that and how it's going to work and that kind of thing.
And we will put something on the website.
We'll have it.
Explain the steps of that.
We'll have it on the website. We'll have it out, in press releases. We'll probably even do videos to show people how to do it so that we kind of cover all of our bases there.
And maybe a little plaque on the floor.
Stand here. We'll have some of those that's just 6 feet apart from each other. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. The video is a good idea.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, so then my second question is, I know you put costs down there for mailing things out. Is that just the postage or is that the postage on the envelopes?
That's just the postage, Emma.
Okay. All right. And here's my very last one, which is the bigger one. A lot of the programs that you listed were all online now. And we're probably going to be doing some of those online for a while. And I took a look at some of them, and we tend to use all sorts of platforms from Facebook Live, whatever, and Zoom, and we're using Microsoft Team. I'm just wondering now, since we've been in this for a little bit, and we're probably going to be in it for a while, and even after the library opens up, we're probably going to decide some things are better online. Have we figured out what doesn't work very well? Have we figured out some things that we could do to make it work better? Have we thought about maybe using not as many platforms?
Well, we're still experimenting. And the nice part is we have started to funnel everything out into our YouTube after it's some of those programs, after they're done, at least they can be viewed again on YouTube. So we're kind of using that as our landing station for all of them. Now that we have Teams up and running better, we're probably going to shift a little more to that for some things. It also depends on some of the presenters and what they're comfortable using. We have to kind of work with them to make sure they're comfortable too. So it probably will still be a variety of things for a while until we kind of become better at it and figure out.
I noticed some things you don't have to register for, like when I was looking at some of the reading things, but yet the upcoming program with the cook, you do have to register for.
I think you only have to do that in order to get the link to get into it.
I think you have to do it to get, but most of the time when I look on the webpage, the link is down below and you just get into them. And the reason for the program was to have to register. We only can do so many. Is that the deal?
I'm not sure on that one if he was only limited to a certain amount or not. That one Paul arranged. I can look into that though.
Okay. Well, I kind of think it's the wave of the future. And even after the library gets started, we're probably going to do some of that. But at the same token, I worry about doing too much of it because not everybody has the same amount of access to online stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it's I kind of envision it maybe being a blended mix sometime in the future. So
well, remind me under announcements to tell you a little story about that.
Okay.
So.
Oh, I had another question. I was on another Zoom meeting with Paul last week and with some people from the History Museum, and I was wondering if there was any developments with following the Black Lives Movement. If the library was going to do any follow-up programs regarding that.
I'm going to defer to Christina because she had that conversation with Paul. So
we're in the process of developing something, yes, but it's in the very, very early stages. So
okay,
yeah, I have a lot more info than that.
Okay. Yeah, all right, cool.
And I think Rob is on it. The city appointed a committee, didn't they, Rob, to go ahead and look at that? And you're on it, I believe.
Actually, it's a committee we're going to develop either a resolution or a proclamation against racism in all forms. So
okay,
that just happened last night, so I don't have a lot of information on it.
Cool. All right. Anything else on librarian's report? Well, let's get back up to that darn budget then and take a look at it the finance documents, which would be 8, 9, and 10 if you look at the bottom of the page. So let's start with 8, which is revenue. We're into 11 months. Any questions? Anybody?
Yeah, we're just about there. I can't believe it's 11 months into the fiscal year already. It's nice though. We did get, our main revenue is from the tax base, and we ended up getting a little more there than we thought, so that's always good news.
Except for next year.
Yeah.
Except for next year, it won't be so good.
Yeah. We'll take what we can get when we've got it.
That's exactly right. That's what we have to do.
We didn't obviously make our auditorium rental goal, but that's okay. I think this is why we budget conservatively on revenue.
I'm actually surprised that we got any money in fines, but we did.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't we look at expenditures then? Page number 9.
So obviously personnel takes up a giant chunk of the budget, and we're about what, 11% below there. And then our materials, we'll see that materials and services jump up a little bit with June, just because things like ordering those books end of the year expenditures and that kind of thing. But I don't see it going wildly out of control or anything.
Questions, group? We still have $33,000 to spend on books, Christina.
We've been spending, I promise.
That gets back to Bob's question about so many books being taken out by the inventory. We still have money there, so.
We'll have so many
periodicals.
Well, I'm hoping that Christina's got the whole list that's working on that.
Oh yeah.
Well, good for you.
I think she's got lists within her lists. So,
Sammy, and the personnel costs, are some of our employees, like the pages and things like that, are they paid out of that, or are they paid out of contractual, or are they not paid at all?
They're paid out of there. They're paid out of the personnel services.
And so those, they haven't been there, right?
They haven't been there, but some of them have been drawing unemployment, so it will still come out of them.
Okay.
And part of the reason we're low there is obviously we've had that one full-time position not filled for 6 months now, so that makes a difference.
Okay. Any other questions for her? The only thing I always do with all these is I look at page 10, and it says we have $259,872 left this year over what our income was compared to our expenses. Mm-hmm. So that's how. So in the last month of the year, we could spend that much. But normally, if you look at the front page, we spend about $69,000 on personnel, about $45,000 on other stuff. So that's only about $115,000. So we're probably going to end up with about $140,000 to the good this year. So,
we still have to buy a whole nother stash of hand sanitizer. So
there you go. There probably is some additional expenses as we get into this. So
yeah. Well, we have been tracking anything we buy. Anything we've had to buy because of COVID, we've been tracking separately with that code so that, if funding, however or whatever that might be available at some time in the future in regards to that, we're able to pull those expenses out and identify them quickly.
Well, I'm going to suggest that we also think about the unevenness that's going to occur next year. We will have some extra funds for this fiscal year. But next fiscal year, there's going to be, I'm going to say, a pretty good dip in that whole process there. So if we want to keep up a kind of even flow of services and stuff, then maybe we ought to have a little idea of something about a rainy day that's coming up.
Well, that's certainly, and it is a good thing we've ended up building up a sizable carryover, which will roll over into next year to hold us over until tax payments come. But I think it's all the more important that it's a little higher because we don't know what's going to happen with those property taxes.
It's kind of uncertain.
Yeah, and then any of that money we don't spend this year will also add into that and carry us over. So, but yeah, we've already had this discussion about having to watch. It'll be who knows what's going to happen.
We can expect the people that come to the library, they expect it to go on just like normal without considering what the impacts of everything that's actually happening is on how the fiscal processes work.
Yeah. It'll be a challenge.
We're
up for the challenge, so.
Yeah, I think so. Good.
Well, we'll see. I noticed at the city budget committee meeting, we're trying to figure that out too. And there was some consideration that the property tax drop-off may not be as bad as we think that it is, because it is property tax versus other kinds of revenue that you would get. So, like gas tax, you would expect to be a lot less because people aren't driving as much.
Right.
And then there's page 11. Does anybody have any questions about that? That's the Memorial Fund's checking account.
No.
No.
And we really haven't been spending that much because we haven't had live programs.
Yeah.
Other than that foundation donation that's still out there hanging.
We're still waiting on you, James, to make that contribution.
I'm going to write a check for $13.30 and take it down there.
Okay, we'll take it. The Rotary invoices have been sent off, so that should take care of itself, by next report.
Okay. And page 12 is the meeting rooms, and we can see they've only been used once for Red Cross. So
right, exactly.
Not much to talk about there. So we're down to Friends of the Library. Marie, are you there? I see MB at the bottom of the page. Marie.
I don't know if she can undo her microphone or. She probably doesn't have much to report considering they've been closed.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
Marie has her microphone turned off.
We'll give her a second to see if she can turn it on.
But she and I did talk about the drive-through.
She can't even tell us how she's struggling.
She and I did have the discussion about the drive-by book sale, and she was happy to know that they wouldn't have to try and figure out where to shove all those books into their tiny little store. So.
And I think the last report we got from you, they don't anticipate doing any kind of book sale till maybe this fall at the earliest, and who knows if even then. So they're probably just in a holding pattern for a while. Okay, foundation report. I always ask somebody else to give it. I'll give it this time. No news. We do have a meeting tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes because there's going to be more people on it than probably our board meeting, and we'll see if we get it all worked out.
I've got a question for that. Are we going to have a fundraiser this year, or?
That's one of the things that at this foundation meeting we're going to talk about tomorrow, James, is I think it's going to be what are we going to be doing for fundraising for the rest of the year? We have to think about the fall one, we may want to think about what other alternatives we have to fundraising other than having those in-person things towards the end of the year. And I think also at the meeting, we need to talk a little bit about what we want to do as far as the bond measure is concerned. What are activities going to be there? Because we haven't done anything basically because of this COVID pandemic. So hopefully when the foundation meets tomorrow, we can iron some of those things out and move forward. So next time we have a board meeting, we can tell you more. So,
good.
Old business, yes.
Kurt, this is Rob. I have a question. I should have asked this at the last meeting because it was in maybe the March or April minutes. I read that the foundation has made 100% funds commitment to the new building project. Can you explain that to me?
Well, when we met, basically we said of all the unrestricted funds that the foundation has, that we were gonna use those towards the building project. Now, I think, the nitty-gritty of it probably hasn't all been worked out, because at some point we may use some funds not actually for physically building a building, but for maybe public education or hiring someone to help us with grant writing, that sort of stuff. But basically, the foundation's position is that whatever money we have, we're going to use towards the project of securing a new library for Coos Bay. So that's what we hope to do. So I think the last time I looked, it was about $160,000 right now, something like that. You guys from the foundation board can help me with that if I'm way off, and basically that's what we're going to do. And along those same lines, since we are going to have a steering committee meeting coming up in the first part of July too, and it's going to address some of those issues as far as the bond thing is concerned as well. So. Okay, old business, reviews of current service. Sammy.
Well, I just, things keep changing very quickly, so I just want to kind of make sure everybody's all on the same page. Currently we do have curbside pickup 3 days a week, two time slots on each of those 3 days. And plus, we're still mailing out to anybody who doesn't feel comfortable coming down or can't get here for some reason. We have just today was the first day. We're doing a very, very soft opening of computer appointments. And today we're going to do them on Mondays and Wednesdays. We have 2 time slots for those, and we're allowing 3 people at a time, so basically 6 appointments each day. We're doing those on Mondays and Wednesdays for an hour each. It's going to be quite an explanation to the people who want to use it, because staff cannot help them if they can't do it on their own. They're, not going to receive any help from us because we can't get that close to them and can't, be handling the mouse and the keyboard and all that kind of thing. So we've got that. We're going to start, and we'll start advertising this more and more as we go. Next week, we're going to start 2 days a week for 2 hours on those 2 days, let people in to browse a portion of the collection. And those will be limited to 10 people in the building at a time. We're bringing security back next week so they can help us control the front door and make sure we're asking that they sanitize their hands when they come in. We are strongly urging them to wear masks, and we will have masks available for them if they don't have one on them. So we're just going to kind of do a soft, gentle opening to this, see how our protocols work that we have in place, and then we'll start advertising it, more and more kind of thing. So it's a little bit more of the services we'll have open for people. And then obviously we still have all of our programming, both the mail out kind of programming, like our book boxes and our STEAM kits, and then our online programs. So it's kind of where we are right now.
Tammy, I have a question concerning the potential for a walkback reopening at the state level that would affect Coos County. Is it safe to assume that you and Christina and the rest of the team have figured out how you're going to deal with that? It's probably not a monumental task, but I was wondering if you had a plan for it.
Yeah, I mean, if we do need to walk back, obviously the portions of people coming inside to use the computers and coming inside to browse would be, withdrawn, I guess is the best word for it. And we would continue, depending on how things were, would either continue with the curbside, or if things got, extremely bad again, we just go right back to mailing again. So it's just kind of the sliding scale back and forth.
Okay.
We're prepared to slide it one way or the other.
Cool, thanks.
The rest of you, questions about that? I had a couple, Sandy. I mean, this, when we talked about this at the last meeting, this is kind of the level 3, but not really the level 3.
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm assuming the restrooms are still going to be closed?
The restrooms will be closed because we're asking people, the ones who come in to browse, that they basically have a 30-minute time slot to come in and browse. And we're letting everybody know up front about those kind of things, that there won't be bathrooms available and no drinking fountain and that kind of thing.
Are
Is
they
that
done
going in
today?
the paper too, Sammy?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Is that going to be in the paper?
Yes, we haven't put out the official press release yet because we're just starting to, like I said, we want to make sure we've got all of our protocol, all of our ducks in a row before we, and give them a little test before we unleash it all kind of thing.
I have a question about what you said, limited parts of the collection to browse. Do you know right now what some of those areas are that will be open?
Yes, we're going to stretch our new material. Most of the people, or I shouldn't say, a vast majority of people come in to browse the new stuff and browse the DVDs and browse the audios. So otherwise, if they come in for things, they're pretty laser focused on what they want, if they want that one biography or something. So we're going to stretch the new stuff kind of through that center aisle of the library from where it normally is clear back to almost where the magazines are. Mm-hmm. We're going to spread it out on a bunch of tables so that people aren't on top of each other trying to look at it. The audiobooks will be open for people to browse, and so will the DVDs and the mysteries. Anything that anybody needs in regular fiction, Westerns, or nonfiction, staff will be available to go get that for them.
Okay.
So, and large print, we can go get that for them also.
And staff is going to go get children's selections as well?
Yeah, the new stuff for children's is also being pushed forward, and the DVDs for children will be available. Otherwise, staff will be available to go get the other things for them.
The computers, we talked last time about concerns in cleaning them. And we're talking about the computers for Wi-Fi access, right? I mean, for internet access, right?
Correct. We
Yes.
won't have the card catalogs, or the computer catalogs won't be on. If people need to look stuff up, staff will be able to help them do that.
Okay. But the computers that they're going to use on the internet, how are we envisioning cleaning those?
Well, the reason we kind of set up the appointments the way we did is so that we can use a section of them, and then the next round of appointments we'll use another section, and then we'll sanitize in between, but then they will also sit for 24 hours before they're used again. And then we'll actually have enough that each day we'll kind of have their own section of computers, and then we'll alternate and be able to clean them and let them sit in between uses. So.
Okay. And the other thing, it goes along with what Peggy asked about the section of the library that will be open, that will have to be kind of a little different section then off to the side, won't it, where the computers are?
Oh yeah, the computers will be behind the barrier type thing, because those will be used on the opposite days of people browsing.
And are you going to somehow have some delineation so people don't wander off into the stacks and just look at stuff on the book tables?
Yes, we are becoming masters with the caution tape. And we're actually, because we're pulling all the seating out too, because we don't want people, that's not the purpose right now. And we're using a lot of chair backs as barriers, and we're just going to put up signs and just, as people come in the door, just make them aware that, please respect the areas that have been blocked off. And
before on your level 3, you had said no seating. Is that what we're going to do too? And are we going to move the chairs out of those areas then?
Yes. All of the seating will be removed from the area that people will have access to.
Okay.
Just the chair backs in use.
Yes, the chair backs will be used as barriers, but.
Okay.
I went into my doctor's office in Eugene on Tuesday, and the chairs, there was a big pile of chairs when I walked in the door. There's literally only a very few places to sit, and
Yeah.
unless you wanted to climb up on the pile.
And so the security guard's going to basically be checking people in and limiting the number of people that come in?
Yes.
And you had said they could only be in there for 30 minutes. Who's going to monitor that?
Well, we're not going to put a timer on each person, but, we're just going to kind of hope people respect that. And if anybody's we'll notice with only 10 people in the area that we have open, we'll notice, I think, if somebody's been there a very long time.
Okay.
Some of this, and that's
And-
part of why we're not advertising it too heavily right away, is we want to see how this goes. And if we can adjust things and, change around some things, we can do that.
And are your hours that you're going to be limitedly open for people to come in and browse aren't going to be, because you're still going to do curbside, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And so those hours are going to be different than the curbside hours? Because I'm worried about a lot of people at the entrance, because when I was there the other day signing invoices, you came out, they probably had about 6-7 cars lined up for curbside.
Well, that's why we actually we were experimenting with some times, and usually our 11 to 1 is the really busy periods. So that's why we've changed it to 3 to 5, and we may have to reposition our cones that we have for the curbside.
Because I could see people waiting in line outside to get in because 10 people are already there. Mm-hmm. And then all those cars there for curbside too. It could be a kind of a big mess at the front of the building.
It could be.
So, could be.
Yeah. It's this is part of why we're experimenting here in the beginning.
I noticed from the thing that came out from the Coos line that there are some other libraries that are doing that, like Chetco is and Curry is. What about North Bend? Usually you guys coordinate stuff with them. Is North Bend going to be doing the same thing?
Roughly the same thing, yes. They're doing computer appointments and walk-ins, a limited amount of walk-ins. They are also starting this roughly the same time we are. We have slightly different days and times, and we kind of did that on purpose so that if a person can't make it to one spot, maybe they can make it to the other spot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my biggest concern probably is limiting staff and public contact as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And so I worry about us always going over and finding stuff for them in the book stacks and stuff like that too. But I guess there isn't any way around it. And I wish we had more self-checkout machines already, so they didn't even have to come to the counter.
Yeah. Well, we'll have we have some great new plexiglass barriers. So those are up, and so when people are checking out and dealing with staff, they will be on either side of those. Staff is required to wear masks, and like I said, we're strongly encouraging members of the public to wear them also. So, and lots of hand sanitizer will be flowing. So.
Okay. And I think I brought this up last time. We can't require them to wear a face mask.
No, we can't. We can strongly encourage.
Well, what about?
I noticed in today's news that the governor is actually going to order in some counties that they have to wear face masks.
Right.
So apparently, there is a basis to have it. A legal requirement. You're just saying it's not one in our county.
Right. At this point, we have no legal standing to require them to make or to wear them.
Okay. Anything else, guys?
Sammy, did you check with North Bend Fire Department about getting some of that hand sanitizer they had?
Yes, I did. And I'm making arrangements with them too, to see if we can get some of that. Our fire department provided us with some stuff we can use for the counters and that type of thing. But yeah, checking with North Bend to see if we can get some of the regular stuff for hand use. So it's nice to see that we can finally get some somewhere.
Well, my screens all went funny.
Oh. We can still hear you.
Yeah, but I can't see anybody. All I see is little dots.
I've had to turn your camera on and off, and that might cure the problem.
Well, we can see you, Kurt.
Oh, that's okay. I see a little circle with GM right now, and that's it. So that's okay. It's fun looking at you. I guess I'll just have to pretend looking at the screen instead. And I turned the camera on and off, and that didn't do it. So
you didn't do it.
Who knows why?
That's a Microsoft thing.
It probably is. We should be all on Apples, right, James?
That's true. That's what I'm on.
So it's a big challenge. I wish you nothing but the best. Trying to open this up for a limited amount because I know there's going to be some difficulties you'll have to deal with. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
And Sammy, when you do that, if there's any issues that you need help with, make sure you give someone a call.
Oh, we will.
Okay.
We are doing this with the utmost caution. We don't want to.
Yes.
It's not worth it to put anybody at risk. Over.
Good. I'm okay with that.
I got Sammy back on my whole screen. Sammy, you're the only one I see. Oh, nice. Nice
film the movie. Ah.
Oh, I have another one. Now I have RM up there, so who knows? Well, they're coming back, slow but sure. If there is anything more on old business, a new business election of officers, we really don't elect them at this meeting. I double-checked the bylaws. We elect the new officers in July, but I just had it on the agenda so we could be thinking about it for two things. One thing, the last time I checked from our meeting in July was the city council had basically gone ahead and postponed new committee appointments until September because of the COVID thing. And normally when we have our July meeting, we have any new member that we're going to have there too. So, I don't know what that does as far as election of officers and other stuff is concerned. We could probably go ahead and do it, or we could wait until we have any new board members.
Which would be a replacement for me.
Are yours all the way?
I think I'm the only one that I know of that my term is actually going out.
Yes.
Okay. So the only thing about electing officers in July would be whoever gets appointed on there wouldn't have the opportunity to participate in that. I don't know if that's a big thing or not. Think about it, and we can talk about it at the July meeting. And just to remind you who's an officer, right now I'm the chair, Bob's the vice chair, Kathy's the treasurer, and Alyssa is the secretary. So that's who we've got on board currently. So think a little bit about that, and we'll talk about it some more in our July meeting and decide whether we want to elect officers then or whether we want to maybe postpone it until the city council has an opportunity to appoint a new board member. So
Sammy,
I'm going to ask you a question. If someone has a public comment in this format, how do they do that? Do we have a place where we publish the link to get into the meeting so they can make published comments?
Yes, the link to the meeting is published on the library calendar with the meeting announcement.
Wow, I didn't see it.
There's a link on there for the public to attend, which is a different link than your link.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And then,
I didn't look on that. I was looking for my link there.
Oh, yeah. Your link is your link. So, yeah, because there's participants and then there's guests. So that's why there's two different links. So.
Last time, Sammy, when we had our virtual meeting, weren't the techs that are helping us able to monitor to see if there was any questions?
I believe somebody's monitoring the Facebook. Christina was doing it last time, and
because James, in answer to your question, there is a way for the meeting while it's live, I believe, for them to monitor it for incoming questions from the public.
Okay, well, we should, and we particularly should have that route right at the moment, so. And I may want to do that after September, just to come in and
inspire some questions at us.
The board.
Please cut him off, Sammy. Don't let him get the link.
Yeah. Steve, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm being heard or what, but when we were talking about old business, I wanted to request an update, please, on if you could tell us about how staff are doing now, how many are working at home, how many are working in the library, and just give us an outline of the latest.
Okay. Well, all of the staff all came back, or not all the staff, everybody but the pages and the substitutes have been back since May 6th, I believe was the date. And we have one person still working from home. But everybody else has been either partially at home and partially in the library or all in the library since then. And that's, so we've been fully staffed since the beginning of May.
Okay, thank you.
Sammy, Steve, I'll tell you, I've been down there a few times to sign invoices and stuff, and the morale of the staff seems pretty good right now. You know, they've had a lot of work to do, and they did all that inventory and a bunch of other things. So I think they're in pretty good shape. We just need to make sure and support them as we start to open stuff up and make sure they're okay. So.
And that's why we're taking baby steps.
Yeah. Any other announcements or new business anybody's got they want to talk about? Woo. Hearing none, I guess we can.
Well, I have an announcement if you were moving on to announcements.
Sammy got a new car.
Well, that too, but that was a forced to get a new car. So,
wait a second. Did you guys know Sammy was in an accident?
No.
She was in an automobile accident, totaled her car, and she finally was able to get a new one.
I did not total my car. Someone else totaled.
Well, let me ask you, did you walk away from this accident?
Yes.
It was
then at the emergency room.
As Chuck Yeager said, any landing you walk away from, that's a good landing. So I'm going to say, if you had a car accident you walked away from, it was a good accident.
She actually made the front page of the World.
Well, oh, really?
The accident was a picture on the front page of the World for those of you that missed it. It's been a while now, but it was there.
My moment of fame. But I can attest to, I got my $30 fee out of my North Bend emergency fee. I got full service out of my $30. Anyway, beyond that, Christina, Brittany, and some other staff members and I worked our little fingers to the bone to get Institute of Museum and Library Services grant put together in record time. Christina, I can't remember the grand total. Can you?
It was $156,000.
Our grand total of $156,000, which would, if we get it, which fingers crossed, would pay for programming to move it online and other ways of providing programming during this time. But as a part of that, we'll put together kits with laptops and hotspots so that people who don't have consistent and good access to the internet can also still participate and still have access to information and that kind of thing. And those would be available for checkout. So Kathy emailed me the link to the grant as soon as she saw it, which was great. And it's a IMLS CARES grant. It was funny because the minimum amount you could apply for had to be $20,000 or $25,000. I was like, oh, how are we going to do that? And well, you can see what our grand total ended up being because they will pay for staff training, they will pay for equipment, and they will pay staff salaries during that training and that kind of thing, which is what bumped the amount up a bit. So we should hear about that in August. If we get it, the project starts September 1st. So, but that will be some of the things we'll address is best platforms to use, best practices to use, making it available in ways that both analog and digital and that kind of things.
Well, thank you guys for working on that. And we need to make sure and thank Kathy for pointing that out to us too, because she sent me a copy of that email too. And she was thinking about us. Yes,
that was great. Because by the time the state library sent out the same announcement, I had a few days head start anyway. So.
I have a question about the security at the library. Just in light of the political, social climate right now, and we have somebody that's trained to handle patrons with like mental illness issues, that kind of thing, or?
The people that we've had do our security are very good about training their people. And all of the people we've had, all their employees that we've had here, I have always done a very good job of being compassionate and I I guess, jumping to conclusions or, reacting too quickly. They're very good at de-escalation, and having seen them in action several times doing it, they really, I've been impressed. So, I mean, obviously they can't satisfy everyone because there's some who just aren't satisfied, but they really do a good job of, and they really get to know our people. That's, I think, the biggest thing there is that they develop relationships. They know the people by name, and they have that established repertoire with them. So, which helps a lot sometimes.
Yeah. Have we even had, I'm trying to think, I don't know. Have we even had any police calls since we've had the security there? Have we had to call the police?
Not even a handful. I mean, there's been a couple incidents where it has, gotten to the level where it's just, nothing, unfortunately, nothing else to be done. But the calls have dropped off just dramatically since we've.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And that can help lower some of those tensions, I think, that you're talking about, Peggy, between the community and law enforcement. So that's a positive thing. So, and I've watched it too.
I'm sorry. One of the things I have heard, though, from this on television, that from police officers who have said, we have to call them community members, because you can't refer to them as citizens. It's got to be community members, and they are a part of that. So getting to know who's there and that kind of thing, I think is important.
I agree.
I think it's some of the best money we've ever spent.
Okay. So I guess we need to pick a time for the next meeting.
Looks like it's going to be July.
So it's Wednesday.
Let's see. Calendar to open here. Looks like July 15th.
Okay. That sounds fine for everybody. That's what we'll do. July 15th, 5:15. Sounds good. And I'm sure it'll probably be another virtual meeting. We'll still be in our virtual meeting space.
Probably.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, we will be closed on the 3rd and the 4th. The 4th, obviously is July 4th, but since it falls on a Saturday, the library will also be closed on the 3rd. So just FYI.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. It was a joy seeing you all again, and we'll see you again in another month, if not sooner. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye.